Hey everybody, welcome to the Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Marie and myself, Coach David Syvertson. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertson. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Marie. We are currently sitting in here while Open Gym is going on, just a few weeks away from the CrossFit Open. You ever notice this time of year, Open Gym, there's a little bit extra juice in there?
Absolutely. People are practicing so many different movements right now.
Yeah, I think I just saw Amy's daughter practicing pullovers, and that reminded me that I've never tried one in my entire life.
Are you going to?
I probably will at some point, but I will not have the gym do them unless I feel they're ultra safe. I just feel there's going to be some really bad things happening if we have a lot of people try them.
I guarantee you, if you make me try it, I will kill myself.
And yeah, that's one of those things. I think every now and then you pull a hard no on, all right, are we here for fitness? Are we here for fitness? Okay, yes, we are. We're not doing pullovers. But if it's something that you want to learn, that's awesome. We could definitely probably work with you or put in some sort of skill class that we're thinking about bringing into Bison at some point. But no, this is a great time of year. The early February into mid-February into the Open is always... There's like an extra buzz, a little bit of extra energy, extra adrenaline coming into the gym. And I kind of want to correlate this to the state of CrossFit. That's where this episode is going to start, and it's going to end with my experience on the Sevan Podcast, which was last Sunday. And I heard I'm going to have my balls busted by Sam.
Well, you are the most famous person at Bison right now, so there you
go. So that will, and part of Sevan, state of CrossFit, state of Bison even, is just, I think they're all intertwined. As CrossFit grows under this new leadership, there have been some significant changes, and the way we find out about these significant changes is from the media types, and it's that media outside of CrossFit, right? Not those that are actually being paid by CrossFit to do it. That market is, I would even say, rapidly growing between Sevan, Hiller, Coffee, Pods and Wads, Kettlebells and Cocktails, Fit Podcast, coming up from the rear, Talking Elite Fitness, the CrossFit Games Podcast. I mean, we can keep going on, Buttery Bros, all these guys. The media, this is the sign of a growing business. Take CrossFit out of it. Any business or sport where you start to see a lot of different media types and personalities coming in with a lot of followers, and it creates a lot of extra opinion and information, maybe even debate on how things should be done. And I remember Dave Castro saying this years ago when someone asked, do you like Hiller? Like, do you guys get along with each other? And he says, it's necessary for the sport. Is it necessary for the business, for the brand to grow? I'm not sure. But let's get into talking about where the business is quickly. We don't have to dive too deep, but I have been listening to a lot of Don Fall. He's been doing a very good job as a CEO, getting out on a lot of different podcasts. I was thinking about reaching out to him to have him come back on here.
Yeah, I saw him at the Health Summit, and I talked to him briefly, and he actually had some thoughts that I was going to share on the other episode, but I'll share it right now.
Okay.
He recognized me. I mean, as part of CrossFit Bison,
Mm-hmm.
We talked briefly. I always buttonhole him about the app, right? Because I'm like, hey, we need a CrossFit app. That's the way we're going to grow the business.
Yep.
And it's funny that you said that, because I said everything that CrossFit does, every effort, every marketing, outreach, media, I filter that through the lens of my family. So it was funny. Nicole Carroll was the keynote speaker. She said, her mother's a 3-time cancer survivor, doesn't exercise. Don Fall, parents, remember he was on our podcast, never tried CrossFit.
Yep.
Your parents, I don't think they've ever tried CrossFit.
Nope.
Your brother does, but not all your brothers.
Yep.
My brothers, my parents don't do CrossFit. Mm-hmm. And for me, I look at it as if I could have something that I could pin to CrossFit that my family might be like, oh, this might be interesting. I would say that's a win. Whether it's a celebrity endorser, whether it's some sort of mass marketing media, some viral thing, I don't know, an app that is easy to get into. So I told him, I feel like for CrossFit to grow, if we ourselves cannot get the people closest to us to join CrossFit, then we have issues. The media is great, Buttery Bros, Sevan, us, but we're preaching to the faithful. And so it's like outreach. It's kind of like a religion. It's kind of weird. Like, how do you go and increase the outreach? We're sermonizing and we're preaching to all the different denominations within CrossFit, but how are we reaching out to others and making it more appealing? And he said, funny enough, he did take his parents for the first time to a CrossFit box at Lake Tahoe when they were on vacation. And I said, how did it go? And he said, awful. It was terrible. He said they did a 24-minute EMOM and it ground them into the ground. It was so hard. And he said, it was not a bad workout, but obviously for someone who's never done it, it was terrible. And they were very polite and they said to him, thank you, but they would probably, if asked, would never want to step foot in a box again. And so he said, I got to work on it. Listen, it's going to happen. But he also had some insight into some of the obstacles and challenges that we have. It's not easy stuff. And awesome. That's really, and so that was enlightening to me when Don Fall tells you that his parents did not have necessarily the best initial experience, what we have to work on.
That is really interesting because as you're talking about this, I'm trying to tie this to my parents, right? My parents are going to come over today for the Super Bowl. Forget when we're airing this. It's going to be a few weeks later, but they are coming over this afternoon for the Super Bowl. And it's funny, the Super Bowl Sundays in my family, we usually don't eat very well, some chicken wings and some other chips and dips and all this stuff. And I'm thinking maybe as they're getting older, right? My dad's going to turn 70 soon. I would have a hard time sending him to any box. If I'm there, I'll feel better about it. And he has asked me, we've got him a rower, we got him some dumbbells. He is doing different kinds of workouts than he ever has because he was just a runner, elliptical guy for a long time. And he has, I could tell he's into fitness or he's always worked out. Why haven't I, as his son, right, pushed him towards more CrossFit style training? No, not going to have him go do Fran the second day he does CrossFit, but why not air squats and ring rows? Why wouldn't you do some sort of that? And it is. I actually think CrossFit affiliate owners, myself included, and coaches, it's easier when someone comes to the gym that wants to come there and has it. Whenever someone joins our gym from another gym that has 2 years of experience, we just had someone that came over from Lyndhurst, moved out here from Lyndhurst, and she's formerly from Florida. And she comes in, she knows how to squat. It's easy. And she wants to be here, and I love working with that. It's challenging to get someone that doesn't really want to come, but will come because I asked them, and to really kind of guide them from step one. But as an owner and as someone that does want to see the brand grow and prosper and affect more lives, which that 20 to 30 million number is still stuck in my head from what Don Fall told us when he was here. It should start with our families. If you had every single one of our members try to get one family member here, could we double the size of this gym? Think about that.
Easily.
Yeah. And take the business side out of it, and I'm immediately thinking, oh my God, we're going to have 60-person class. Take that out of it. Create another gym, get a bigger gym, all that stuff, right? That is a really interesting. Can you put the pressure on us as CrossFitters, not just coaches, owners, everyone? Can you get one person in your family to do CrossFit? That's a really next step. I think that is when he talks about the number of people that he wants to do it, both with us and on the podcast I have recently listened to. The numbers seem unrealistic until you go down that path. Can every CrossFitter get a family member in? And I bet it could be more than that.
I hope their marketing efforts are geared toward that as well. So
recently, we're now sitting here in February. Last month was the install of raising affiliate prices. It went from $3,000 a year to $4,500 per year, which, just so you know, all things considered, is very cheap compared to Orange Theory, F45, Gold's Gym, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
It's not even close. But the problem is two things. They made that a flat rate for everyone, $4,500, no matter if you're paying $3,000 or a grandfathered rate from 2008 where you're paying $500 a month. So if you're talking about percentage of spending, all right, some people did see a 900% increase. Most people saw a 50% increase. If you want to relate that, for those that are paying a gym membership right now, CrossFit Bison, January, we increased our membership for the first time in 5 years. and we got everyone, for the most part, to a flat rate. And to some people, that was a 5% increase. To some people, that was a 30% increase. Still, none of them was 50%. But act like this. If you want to try to put this perspective into your head, if we increased everyone's price 50%, so we took half of what you used to be paying, and we said we're going to add half of that to your current price, what would your reaction be? And naturally, right, a lot of affiliate owners were very unhappy about that news. And he did explain why. He was really transparent on the Kettlebells and Cocktails podcast. And he said that private equity owns over half of CrossFit, and which is basically a fancy way of saying a lot of a group of investors own it, and they are doing it to make money, to make a profit. That is why they did it. It wasn't to help the community. It was to make money. They're going to sell it off at some point. He threw out the number 5 to 7 years. They're in year 4 right now. Prior to 2022, they were break even. CrossFit as a business was break even, so they were not profitable. And to try to reverse this ship, they said they had to do 2 things, which is pretty common. All right, if you want to dumb this down, you have to cut costs and raise revenue.
That's what every PE firm does.
Yeah.
MFers. They are MFers. I'm sorry, they are MFers.
That's why we can get into that, because I want to get your opinion on that.
They've destroyed healthcare in a huge way so far as well, their involvement. But whatever, go on.
And so basically what they did is they did cut a lot of costs. They laid off a lot of staff, which was a big story by Morning Chalk Up and Sevan and Hiller, right? He just announced that they're going to take a significant amount of funding out of the CrossFit Games, out of sport, he said. Moving from Madison to Fort Worth was part of that. It's a lot cheaper down there. Mm-hmm. They are getting the Masters, Teens, Adaptive away from the games, and we're going to get into that at some point. Maybe in this episode, but we have Joe Linton coming on. Well, by the time this episode, my chronological right now is all thrown off. We had Joe on a few weeks ago, so you can hear about that. But basically, and now they cut all these costs, and now they have to raise revenue. And raising revenue, he said, was transparent. Part of the plan is to make the affiliates pay more money. So you're not an affiliate owner, Sam, but you're very involved here. I would even say like there's a lot of stock and emotional stock that you have in Bison. Mm-hmm. What was your reaction when you saw that price increase come?
It was measured. It depended on what they were going to use it for. And right now, it's unclear what PE is going to use that for. Is it to raise their number so they look like a profitable business so they can present better to a buyer? Because if that's all they're doing, that's an awful reason to raise prices. If they're going to reinvest that into CrossFit on some level, then I'm all for it. I'm a little afraid it's the former, not the latter. They want to present a rosier financial picture, and that
because they want to sell it.
Yeah, so they want to say, look, we've just increased profit by 25% over the past year, and we project to do it again. You know, there's only so much blood you can squeeze from a stone.
Right.
That's a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Now, if they actually care about the long-term health and growth of CrossFit, which I really doubt now, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, I mean, there's 2 sides to what the direction of CrossFit is right now. I personally do think, been an owner for 10 years now, there is more effort from HQ than there ever has been when it comes to making it a more sophisticated, professional environment for our parents to go work out in, to get 20 to 30 million people in, to make the coaches better and more informed. Now, the other half of it is those actual coaches and affiliate owners need to take advantage of the tools that have been given to us, right? There's an affiliate owner kit that is very well put together. I wouldn't say that when I read it, especially about running classes and programming, that I learn a lot because I already know it, but you'll still read it. And I'll tell you what, and our gym, like, to be blunt, is not struggling. But if I was an affiliate owner that felt stuck and struggling and I can't get over this next hump, which I'm sure we will be at some point, there are enough resources coming down from CrossFit HQ that do increase the value of them to us, because that is always the common question from affiliate owners. I'm a part of a lot of group chats and Facebook groups of affiliate owners. What are we getting out of this, right? We're paying extra money. What are we getting out of this? Which is, typical of our society now. What am I getting? What am I getting? What am I getting? Right? And I do think now, are you using them? Is it actually helping you? That's up for debate. I want to tie this to Bison. We increased prices, and it wasn't because I want a Lamborghini and a new house and go on fancy vacations. Our expenses have gone up a lot over the past 5 years, and we want to make the gym better. How do we make the gym better? There are some things that cost money, including making our space bigger. We haven't really finalized these plans yet, but I can tell you that we're locked into this space now for a long time with increased rent, and we are getting more square footage in this building. And it's going to give us some opportunities. We have to narrow them down and really decide what we're going to do. And we're going to do that in the next few months, probably 3-4 months, of what we're going to do with this entire building starting in January 2025. And that is going to provide a better gym. It can help us update equipment. It can also help it update our funding for our staff, right? Our coaches, our part-time coaches are already making more money per class. We want to increase salaries of all of our employees. So, and all this comes back to we want to make things better here. So it's funny and ironic that at Bison, our prices are increasing at the same time as CrossFit HQ is increasing their pricing. And I'm kind of empathizing with them a little bit. Because if someone from Bison's like, bro, I don't want to pay another $30 a month. What am I getting more out of it? Well, I'll have a list of things. Whether you use them or not is not really, I don't really care. Or whether you agree with them or not, I don't really care. Just like an affiliate owner from, Missouri that's complaining about CrossFit HQ not helping them out, it's really a matter of, are you maximizing what they're providing for you? And if not, don't really care what the opinion is. What do you think about that?
Yes. What do you use that they have provided for you? Because honestly, you've homegrown most of the stuff that you do. You don't use CAP programming.
Nope.
You don't use most of the tools that they have because you don't
need them.
You don't need it. You're already established. It's usually for growing gyms.
Yeah.
So honestly, you're not actually using anything CrossFit HQ uses. And a lot of established gyms, I think, would have that attitude. These are tools I do not need. I could do just fine, and many have, especially after the whole Glassman thing, disaffiliated and done perfectly fine.
Right.
So I would say, unless you're a starting gym, why would you take advantage of that stuff?
Yeah, it's more that the fact that their effort is there, the opportunity is there. If we ever do hit a snag and we need like a resource to try and find where our holes are in our business, I now know that it's there. I am also loyal to CrossFit. I actually think that I got to be careful here, but like paying $4,500 a year to be a part of CrossFit to me is still on the cheap side, and I feel like that we're not being taken advantage of because no paying consumer wants to feel like the producer is taking advantage of them, and I don't feel like CrossFit is taking advantage of us. I do think they provide and put a lot into the CrossFit Open, which is a huge part of our business, and if they just stopped doing that, I would be like, crap, that's a big part of us. And they run it, and they do, in my opinion, a pretty good job of running it. And we saw how big a production that announcement was last year. There's a lot of funding that goes into things and elements and variables that make the Open what it is. So that's part one. I do think they're making a better effort at communicating. Me communicating with them as an athlete, as an owner, has been a lot better in recent years since Don Fall has been involved. I do see them making more effort in media production. I don't have the solution for what should media be within CrossFit to get people to walk in our door because there's too many variables. I just don't have the answer. I listen to people talk about what their commercials need to be. Like, do I want to see a CrossFit commercial in the Super Bowl tonight?
I would love it, but it's like millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, and would it get people to actually walk in our door?
Depends on what the commercial is about.
And then what do you do once they're in your door? Again, that's the issue.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready for an onslaught of my dad to a CrossFit gym. That would be a disaster right now.
So, and I actually heard a really cool idea of his that they're starting to implement. It's not their main focus right now. It's like they're trying to make the at-home workout experience better. Like a 90-day plan where you do CrossFit on your own at your house, and then that gets you a little bit more confidence to walk into a gym because they have done studies, again, something that you might not see, but this is a big deal. They've done studies on what have prevent people from coming to the gyms, and they say most of them feel like they're not fit enough to go in.
And guess how you're going to get them to do that 90-day workout?
An app. I think we're going to see one. I do think.
He said wait, have patience, but he said that last year, so I'm still waiting. But listen, you have a bigger platform now. I don't know. I was going to transition to your Sevan.
Yeah, I'll transition to media because now we can sit here and talk boring business talk back and forth. And, I do think media plays a big part. That's kind of where I want to take that conversation was media plays a huge part in the growth of CrossFit. And that might be CrossFit media, or it might be these guys, these independent media sources that really do feed off of negative news, and so they can put their spin on it and get a ton of reactions. Hiller has made I don't know how well he does financially, but he's made a career out of, stuff that is debated and can even come across as combative, and can create two different camps within the same team. Like, I still think there's old school CrossFit and new school CrossFit. And for the most part, they don't get along with each other. And I think a lot of these people in media are from old school CrossFit. And things are not the way they used to be, just like they're not the way they used to be here at Bison either, by the way, right? It is very different than it was in 2016 and 17. But you have to evolve, and hopefully the leadership in place can keep the ship moving in the right direction. And CrossFit leadership has been all over the place. I do trust and believe in Don Fall, but the media, to me, has more influence than CrossFit HQ staff. And that can lead us to being on Sevan last week. Sam, did you watch it?
What, yours?
The interview with Sevan?
Yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had.
How often do you watch Sevan?
Not too often. He is a great guy. I watch certain topics, but his sort of flavor of his take is sort of off color, sometimes very off color. I won't put some examples, but even when he was talking to you, I was like, what? Mm-hmm. Why would you even throw that in there? And you kept rolling with it a couple times. Yeah. But I was just like, I don't know where this guy's mind is sometimes. He is definitely marching to the beat of a different drummer. And I do know there are a lot of people at our gym who like him, and that's totally cool. I understand that. For me, I take him in very small doses.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a, I would say, I don't know if crude's the right word, but he's got a very interesting, in-your-face sense of humor. Like, nothing is off limits when you talk to him.
Oh.
And that kind of humor, to me, it attracts a lot of people. And I think you always have to know that if you're going to be a big deal media, you kind of have to have like that perception of having a screw loose. But here's what I love about Sevan. I think he loves affiliates.
Yep.
I think he loves the brand of CrossFit.
Yep.
And I think that he has a lot of experience, pull, influence that can help CrossFit gets to its peak. Does he capitalize on it? Does he actually use it? Can he stay humble about it? That it remains to be seen. We'll see. But I do think that there is a lot of good in him and what he produces. Producing media every day is hard. That is a really hard thing to do. But we can get into what we talked about. Bust on me a little bit.
Yeah. What was your experience like?
Yeah, I mean, he contacted me on social media, and this is all open-driven, I know. It's not, I need to talk to Dave. It's like, all right, who has the most people signed up? All right, let's reach out to this guy. I guess he talked to a few different people. He said that on his podcast, too, and he found me on Instagram and then got my cell phone number, and we chatted. And at first, I did think it was a joke because I went to the profile that messaged me, and he's got like 4,000 followers. So I'm like, I thought he would have more than that.
What, on Instagram?
Yeah. I thought he'd have like in the tens of thousands. So I was like, all right, someone's trying to pull a joke on me. So I just like respectfully said, sure, I'll come on. And then I got a text from Matt Souza, who's the producer of the Sevan Podcast, who comes on with him sometimes. He's an affiliate owner in California. And they gave me 2 dates. And I gave him the one that worked for Ash and I the best. And the entire week, I still didn't know if this was real or not.
Which is why I think you told no one. I found out by seeing your Instagram post, and I was like, wait, I'm your podcast host, and I'm finding out on your Instagram that you are going on another podcast, the Sevan Podcast. Thank you.
I will tell you, I did not tell anyone. The only person I had to mention it as a possibility to was Kayla, because I might, if I couldn't do it Sunday, I was going to have to do it Tuesday, and I was going to ask her to change my classes with me. So we had to trade classes, but nobody knew about it until that time I put it on Instagram, because I was like 70% sure that it was going to happen. And the other 30%, I was like, this has got to be a joke. But then I saw it on his YouTube the day before. He's got preview of shows that are coming. I'm like, all right, I guess this is happening.
It's really happening.
Yeah.
He's pretty famous. I mean, he has 26.3 thousand subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, your podcast, had 3,300 views. And in comparison, we have 183 subscribers on YouTube. And our last episode that I saw, the Dark Week episode, had 69 views. So
it's early. We're gonna
so you had
get more.
You had a very big platform, and you used it. You spoke for an hour and 43 minutes. An hour and 43 minutes. And last time we talked, you said, hey, our podcast should last 20 minutes. And I'm like, this dude, you talk about being a service mindset for your members. And I was like, how about serving me and my time by not taking up an hour and 43 minutes? I could only take about 20 to 30 minutes at a time. And I've known you for 10 years.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, I got to take a break before I listen to more Dave Syverton here. And now I will tell you, though, I thought it was great in the sense that you were very authentic. You're all you.
Yep.
You unloaded more in an hour and 43 than I did not know half like the crap that you told him.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought we were friends, and yet you go to some dude who like you've never met before, and you're telling him like your deepest, darkest secret.
The avocado story?
Yeah, well, no, I've heard that a couple times. That was like the fourth time I've heard that story. But
it's such a vivid memory in my head.
But anyway, it was great advice for affiliates in terms of approaching your clients at your gym or members, approaching the CrossFit Open. And I thought the take-home message for me was, listen, you can focus on revenue, financial strategies, profit, expenses, which is helpful as a business owner, but ultimately as a CrossFit gym owner, they have to see that you care,
right?
That you are in service to them. And of course, Sevan makes it all weird, and he's like, yeah, like waiters and baristas and like the guy who pisses me off at
Starbucks.
Starbucks. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah, you pull out all the stories that I've heard about the avocado, coaches Liz and Adam leaving to start their own gym. Like, you got pissed off at me that one time. I told them the first time about that. You're like, you were not supposed to say that. And then it became a thing. Like,
now it's a joke.
Yeah, because they would never do that anyway. But
you never know.
Yeah, I would say the other thing, which I hope they take and run with it, is the people who are former elite athletes not doing the Open, like Matt Frazier. You called him out.
I did.
And I feel like that is very important. I think that's important for the Masters. Especially. I think it's star-driven. And I feel like these guys, and we talked about it off air about him being on, what was that guy, Tennyson, the YouTuber?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about how he really does CrossFit a disservice by the way he sort of approaches his media.
His platform.
Yeah, and it really bothers me a lot. A man who is
the Joe Rogan
podcast, a 5-time fittest man on earth, built his life and reputation on CrossFit, and he's not really, like, in my mind, helping CrossFit. And it's not that he has an obligation, but I think in gratitude, just gratitude.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he's gotten a lot from CrossFit,
Yeah. So I would say if you listen to the Sevan podcast, first of all, it is long. You may want to watch it at 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed. But I will say, and don't watch the stuff after you come off, because it is some really weird ass.
I didn't.
Oh, dude, don't listen to it.
Yeah,
don't. And I won't even mention it. I was going to mention it, and then Susan's like, no, don't say anything about it. Yeah. But let's read some of the comments that they said about you.
Let's do it,
and then you can go ahead.
I did not read these, by the way, so this is gonna be the first I've heard of that.
All right. So Anthony Adams said, David is a righteous dude. Love hearing his point of view on CrossFit, the Open, and owning an affiliate. And yes, BTS was the reason I started CrossFit. I don't know what BTS.
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
Because I mentioned that to Sevan. I think someone said, it's like, you were like really nice to him at the end. I'm like, well, like, that's just who I'm going to be in general. I'm not going to be mean to someone, but I did want him to know, because I don't know if he gets enough of this. like of this like support, because I feel like sometimes he's an ally of Dave Castro but an enemy of CrossFit HQ. His impact on the growth was pretty big. Like I think Sevan was a huge part of CrossFit's growth because of those behind the scenes and all the other stuff that he did with CrossFit Media.
Very true. Ken Walters, I like this dude. Timestamp 134 to 137 shows throughout the interview why this young man has 300 members and some gems in here. Just order a beer. Oh, that was when you're a bartender and you can't make up all the fancy drinks. Yeah. So you're like, just order a beer. And then I take my shopping cart back, which is when Sevan asks, like, how are you of service outside the gym? And you're sitting there like, I bring my shopping cart back. Like, Joel Trello was just busting out that one in class the other day. And then also the
you know why? Because they probably doesn't do it.
Dude, that guy would bring 4 shopping carts back, not just one. All right. And then the avocado store where you're sitting in the grocery store wondering if you had enough money to buy the 4 avocados or whatever it was. Right.
Yep.
And then Jessica Rivera, you replied to this one actually. I've heard of this gym, great reputation. Never tried it because I want a coach to coach me, and I feel like...
I remember that. That was right away.
Yeah, 30 athletes per class. There's no way a coach can give me the proper attention I need. I want to be coached. P.S. This guy can talk.
That is true.
Yeah.
I actually noticed in the first half hour, because I knew this was like a unique opportunity to speak my mind and explain things. And I feel like the more we do here, even on this podcast, I really want to explain the why behind a lot. Like I want to hear that more of that from others. Like when we have guests on, or when I have conversations in the gym, or even when I talk to some coaches, like I want to know why behind, the way they are, because I think that's where you learn. That's where you can really project a certain way that you want to be. But I did notice, Matt Malone texted me about it, and he was like, oh, the comments I didn't read were the live comments. I think there was like a live comment section, and someone said, like, man, this guy can talk. And he's like, well, 2 things. It's an effing podcast. Like, of course the guy's going to talk. And B, like, that's how I've always been. That we talk about that with my social media sometimes.
Oh,
you just want to like explain and make sure that there's no gray area. That's the reason behind that.
2, I assume they're women, I'm not sure, Cayman Cider and Emma Whelan said, is that Woody Harrelson? He reminds me so much of Woody Harrelson. And then someone else said, oh, you like his blue eyes? And they're like, yes, I do. I like those blue eyes. So you could become a little bit of a celeb if you wanted to. You could just kind of lean into that a little bit.
Julia asked me, who's Woody Harrelson? I was like, oh, God. That's so young.
Depends on which phase of Woody Harrelson you want to look at.
That's true.
I think they're talking about the Cheers bartender Woody Harrelson, not the... like weird
twilight of his career type.
True Detective, Woody Harrelson, whatever. HQ should waive his affiliate fee for a year. Good dude.
Oh, wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Done.
I don't know if he's part of HQ. And then Jeremy World, David's about to convert Sevi. I guess you talked about faith, and
we did talk about faith.
He was a little intrigued by that.
He was.
Yeah, I think...
I actually enjoyed that. The irony behind that is... I actually talked to my brothers about this. I feel like they're the people to talk to about faith, and because I still struggle with my consistency there, but it is my foundation. Like I do, the older I get, and you see the difference between people. I think that foundation is always there, and I did like talking about that.
And then someone said he's arguably doing as much good as the church, maybe more. And I don't know if that's true, but that was an interesting comment. And then Joe Piero, obviously, with the water sploosh emojis, Daddy Dave. He says, thoughts about a second CrossFit Bison location.
Yeah, that's it's always in the back of our minds. We do talk about it. So I think Joey wants to have a gym where he can do his thing, and it would be hard for him here. We've talked about it in the past. It's just our classes are too big, and we can't provide him the open gym stuff that he needs. So
yeah, he's a pretty elite athlete. He needs space. And that was actually one of the reasons why Proven left East Nashville.
Yeah, did you listen to that?
I listened to what you told me.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, elite athletes need space. They need places to work out.
There was a comment I saw. I'm sure you'll bring this up, because when you're on the on the thing, you could see when I guess he selects a comment that shows up on the feed.
Yeah.
And one of them was, I guess you'll never have a CrossFit Games athlete from Bison.
Yes. And so what'd you say? What'd you think about that?
I'm offended by that. I am. But here's two things. I don't think it's true. Like, because of the way we run things, I don't think that's why we won't have a Games athlete. To say that I'm right or wrong about that because you don't have a Games athlete yet, it's so freaking hard to make the Games. I mean, there's such a few amount of people that make it. But it is, I think someone can get to the Games from this gym with our programming as the main programming with extra work. You do have to do more than a watt a day.
Not masters. I'm talking individual.
Yeah.
Not teams.
Yeah, like, so in open division, I was hoping you were going to give me the masters out.
I mean, masters, we got people who are
people that can
physically capable.
We have some people that can make semifinals.
Physically, yeah. And then with a couple lucky, I mean, they're opening up a little bit. You never know. But elite individuals, it's such...
it's so specialized now.
It's so
and professional.
Yes.
Like let's take the athlete that we know the closest to us personally that has a shot, I guess you could say, right, is Joe Piero.
Right.
Would Joe go backwards if Bison was his program, 5 days a week, and then he did an extra session every day?
Yes.
I don't know. If we did the level system every day, like we're doing it once or twice a week right now, and we did a podcast on that. If you want to go back and look at, there's some more, like, we could get rid of RX and scaled and make level 3 really hard, like to the point where, like, Joe was the only one that could do it, on a day-to-day basis. But I do think he would need a lot of extra accessory lifting attention. But to me, I question now at this stage in Joe's competitive career, the fact that he's by himself a lot / borderline always, is it holding him back from what I see as a coach? Where are Joe's holes in his game? He doesn't have that next gear in workouts. He's very strong.
Well, I think you would be bucking the trend in terms of what most pro CrossFit athletes are doing. This whole camp system has taken over completely. And so they have multiple coaches. You have one dedicated coach. You have additional coaches, part of the camp. You are doing a lot of your training on your own, but you're also getting together as a group to sort of push and to work on weaknesses and so forth. And so you might be right, but it is certainly not what everyone else currently in CrossFit is thinking.
I think the camps we're not sure if they're working yet. Because I feel like these guys, it's like fractured a lot. Like Proven loses a lot of athletes. Hard work pays off, has lost the athletes. Like Mayhem I feel like there's constant bodies in and out there. I don't know if that's going to be a long-term thing. I just don't know if there's enough money in it, and the future of sport is another fascinating topic. I mean, CrossFit is starting to pull out a little bit. So, I don't want to get too sidetracked on that. But, we could talk about the Sevan Podcast for like another 5-10 minutes and we'll wrap it up.
So final thoughts about the experience.
I enjoyed it. And he actually said that he would like me to come back on if we wanted to, at some point, to talk about faith, and then maybe we get back into, if there's ever like another state of CrossFit type conversation. I do like the platform, but I also know there's people that listen to him because they want to listen to his sense of humor, and they don't like CrossFit as much as they used to. They are the old school crowd, but I want to, one thing I want to be a part of, Bison to be a part of as well, if for those that want to, I do want to be part of the solution of marrying old school, new school CrossFit together. I still think there's a fracture between the people that were doing this from 2008 to 2015. Then things started to change. Regionals left. The media team left. Greg Glassman left. And now you have private equity involved. You have all these chief marketing officers and different ways of doing things. And now that's going to bring new people into your gyms, people that are maybe not the same demographic or same type of person that came in 10 years ago. I think there needs to be a group of people in the middle that are marrying them together. Just like, I think that's the way our world works right now is, like in politics, we need to find someone that's like, that can bring the right and left together. There's with a lot of these debatable issues that we have, like, I don't think the solution is, go all in on one side. Like, I think there needs to be someone that's really good at brokering the two sides. And if I can do that, or if anyone from Bison could do that on a bigger platform like Sevan's podcast, and just say, like, we really are the same people. You just don't really always realize it because you don't always agree with each other. But I think there's someone that needs to give these people the notion that there's a responsibility that you have, that you can't just keep throwing your ideas and your thoughts and your beliefs into the conversation and not take any others in. That was the one thing I was glad I got out, is that we should all be trying to give out more than we receive. And we could talk about that in debate, is you can't just, like, you should be listening more than talking, and then try to reflect and look at different perspectives, because if you do that, I do think that's where CrossFit gets to its peak. So if you truly want CrossFit to get to its peak, that's the solution. How you get there can be debated.
Make sure you keep your baby blue eyes wide open.
Yes.
You might have to just be like, oh, I just finished a workout, and make sure you don't have a shirt on and just stand there. I think you'll get more viewers on the next episode.
Sam, do you have any open appointments on plastic surgery? get rid of some trouble areas on my body?
Woody Harrelson does not need any work. You got it already, Daddy Dave.
So yeah, that's kind of like State of CrossFit, State of Media, the Sevan Podcast, kind of like all wrapped up into one. But I do think that to sum everything up and to tie it all together, the State of CrossFit will have a lot to do with media personalities trying to not be too selfish with their work, and trying to, if you truly want the brand to grow. Like, I love that Sevan's doing the open and that he's going to put his scores out there.
I'm glad you held him to it.
And he's putting out hashtags and groups, and he's getting people involved. And I do think he does an affiliate series. If you guys go want to look at his channel, he interviews different gym owners, I think every week. And he likes to get different stories and different perspectives out there. So, I mean, he is doing a big part in that. And then with CrossFit leadership, get the freaking app going. So I don't have to listen to Sam talk about this anymore. But there's going to be, I think, some significant changes with this whole private equity group in the next 2 years. Because I think they're at the 4-year mark now, which is crazy how fast that's gone. That originally they own over 50% of CrossFit, and they said usually 5 to 7 years is when they will sell out, looking for 20 to 25% profit. So that's coming up. And Greg Glassman's not compete ends in August. That's also coming up, and there's some rumors swirling there about potentially him starting a new competitor to CrossFit. Dave Castro shot that down, but I don't think Dave Castro would tell us what he really thought about that in general. So I'm really interested to see what happens in the next 2 years. Media plays a big part in it. Bison plays a big part in it. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit Podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.